In today's Leeds news, Chris and Kevin 2026 memorial plans, VAR summit called, away tickets capped, Joseph wants stay at Mallorca, and rumour mill story on Kasper Hogh. Hey folks, welcome to the Leeds news for Friday the 20th of March. I hope you're all doing well. Jer here. Bit of stuff to get stuck into today, but before we start off, first things first, huge congratulations to Dominic Calvert-Lewin for getting called up to the England squad, along with Anton Stach, who got his call up to the German national team, despite the fact of all of the things that Julian Nagelsmann said about him last month. But well done to both of them. Fantastic achievement for them as well. If you could stick a like on the video, that'd be massively appreciated. Help the channel to continue to grow. Now, you can check out last night's podcast. Myself and Benjamin Bloom had a little bit of look at the championship nuthouse that it is this season. And if the worst case scenario was to happen to Leeds, what it would look like should we drop into it. And if we stay up, what sides coming into the Premier League are Leeds likely to go up against? I couldn't think of a better person than Benjamin Bloom to talk to about the championship, giving his knowledge of the championship and the EFL. But you can check that out. I will link it at the end of today's video. Right, we'll move on and we'll get stuck in today's news. We'll start off with this year's tribute to Christopher Loftus and Kevin Spate. Leeds have announced the plans for the tribute to Christopher Loftus and Kevin Spate for this year's anniversary. This year will mark 26 years since that tragic night in Istanbul where both men lost their lives supporting their football club. And Leeds will hold a minute applause before this Saturday night's game against Brentford. And there will also be a tribute on the big screen in the 26th minute of the match as well. Members of the Loftess and Spate family will be in attendance for the game as well. And captains of Leeds United and Brentford will both lay wreaths beside the dugouts for the match. Leeds United chairman Prag Marathe and managing director Robbie Evans will also lay wreaths at the East Stand plaque for Kevin and Chris this year. Leeds are also having very positive talks with West Ham United around laying wreaths before the FA Cup clash on April 5th, and we'll see how that one goes at the London Stadium. But yeah, they're having positive conversations around that apparently at this moment in time. But let's move on and talk about a VAR summit. All the talk about VAR this season, and UEFA have now called a summit of senior executives and referee chiefs from the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A and Ligue 1 to discuss how to reset VAR to its intended interpretation of only intervening when there are the clearest of errors. Roberto Rossetti, the head of the UEFA referees, has called this meeting after what he said last month, that the game must not go in the direction of microscopic VAR interventions. He said that he believes that the reasons behind why VAR was introduced have started to be forgotten and it needs to be reset. And he said this: I believe that we have forgotten the reason why VAR was introduced. In objective decisions, it is fantastic. For interpretations, subjective evaluation, it's more difficult. And that's why we started to speak about clear and obvious mistakes with clear evidence. VAR is operated differently across all of the European leagues, which is its own problem in its own right. But the Premier League, funnily enough, averages the lowest amount of interventions during a match. Premier League is clocked in at 0.27 interventions per game on average, where the Bundesliga and La Liga are clocking in at 0.38 interventions per game. And Serie A has 0.44 with Ligue 1 at 0.47. But Rossetti also wants to shift to a technical language when it comes to interpreting handballs after what he labelled as controversy over inconsistent application of the meaning of a handball. And we've been on the receiving end of that ourselves this season. What constitutes a handball? Brendan Aronson's dangling arm against Newcastle, the one against Manchester City that went against us the other way. And I think it's a good thing that they are trying to review VAR and see if they can fix it. Do I think they'll fix it? Probably not, because I don't believe the intended purpose of VAR is the problem. I don't believe that the rules of the game are a problem. The problem has always been how it's interpreted by people on the other end of it, the officials that have to apply these rules and these laws, and they've always been the issue for me. So personally, I'd rather see it gotten rid of completely. Keep goal line technology, get rid of VAR, and let's get back to having a bit of enjoyment and fun around football. And if there are mistakes made, there are mistakes made. It's human error. I think we can all live with a little bit of that, depending on where that shift goes. If it starts to benefit the top three sides far more, that's a different conversation. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. We'll keep you updated on that one when we get more news on it. Let's move on. A Premier League shareholders meeting took place yesterday, and clubs have unanimously agreed to cap away tickets at £30 for the next 2 seasons. And this will bring it to 12 consecutive seasons where away ticket prices have been capped, which is great. Now all they need to do is start to cap the home tickets as well, so that we don't make sure we price out real, loyal, noisy fans from stadiums and limit the atmosphere across the UK. It's been a huge talking point this season around fans in the ground, or what kind of fans you want to have in the ground. Leeds are currently going through a redevelopment of Elland Road, which will start at the end of this season, and making sure that the Kop keeps the atmosphere that the Kop has is massively important, and it is a huge thing, but it's very unlikely that we'll see a cap on home tickets come in anytime soon. But move on. Get into the major talking point of today, and it's Mateo Joseph. And of all of Leeds United's loanees that are currently out on loan, Mateo Joseph was always going to be the most interesting one to keep an eye on coming into this summer after his issues during last summer's pre-season. Joseph has had plenty of game time while on loan at Real Mallorca. He has been mostly deployed as a wide attacker up until recent weeks, where he's been deployed as a striker. Now Joseph says that he wants to extend his stay at Real Mallorca beyond this season. And Mallorca currently don't have an option to buy Mateo Joseph, and Leeds don't want to necessarily sell the Spanish under-21 international. Under new manager Martin Di Michaelis, Mateo Joseph has been deployed as a striker, and in the first two games under Di Michaelis, they have won and drawn. They sit 16th in La Liga right now, but according to Sports Witness, Real Mallorca themselves would have some interest in trying to keep Mateo Joseph beyond this season. But Joseph himself has been speaking with some radio outlets, and he spoke to Fibwe Radio, and he said this about his future: "I'd like to continue being happy here. When you're happy somewhere, why change? It doesn't depend much on me because I have a contract with another club. We'll see what the future holds for me. I'm grateful to my coaches that I've had, also to my teammates who from day one have made me feel like one of them, and to the sporting director who has always shown confidence in me." Joseph's contract at Leeds United runs until 2028. It's unlikely that Real Mallorca will be in a position to try and afford Leeds' asking price during this summer, so possibly looking at another loan for the player if Leeds want him to go out. But if his contract is until the end of 2028, you're going into the 26-27 season. You've got 1 year beyond that. Kind of feels like you're clocking down the contract at that point. But you get the feeling heading into this summer, it's going to be another year where Mateo Joseph possibly isn't in the right headspace to return to Leeds or go on a pre-season tour with the club. And it will be interesting because Prag Morate's talked an awful lot about Mateo Joseph. He rates him very highly. He thinks he's got a bright future at the club. Robbie Evans has described him as a wildly talented player that has a future at the football club. But Joseph himself, if you listen to what he says, doesn't appear to think that he does have a future at Elland Road. But we'll have to wait and see. I think Mateo Joseph, honestly, has been pretty badly advised over the last 12 to 18 months, but not for me to say. But it's, let me know your thoughts on this one. Do you cash in on Mateo Joseph? Again, Spanish clubs don't have huge amounts of money. We've seen this with Real Betis, with Leeds before, where they're trying to negotiate discounted prices. And if Leeds do think he has a high ceiling, then you're not going to sell him for a discounted price. But it'll be interesting to see. No options in loans. Obligations, yeah, but no options. We'll see what happens. Let's move into today's rumour mill stories on Kasper Hogh. As per usual, just take this with a pinch of salt. We'll see if it actually turns out to be anything major come this summer. But Kasper Hogh was mentioned as a potential option for Leeds United, kind of as a throwaway addition to Leeds' interest in Bodø Glimt winger Petter Hauge. And now there are some reports linking Leeds directly with a move for striker Kasper Hogh. But they will have competition according to reports from Celtic and Everton, who are all said to be interested in the player. At this point, though, Celtic are said to be the leading candidates for this. They will likely have Champions League football next year, and he wants to play in European football. But if Leeds can stay in the Premier League, then the lure of the Premier League, along with the financial benefits that come with that, will likely have a big say in this. And Everton, as I've just mentioned, are also in that bracket as well. The 25-year-old Danish striker has got 17 goals and 5 assists this year in 26 starts in the league. He scored 5 goals in the Champions League. We've seen Bodø Glimt beat Manchester City, Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid this year. So he's having a really, really strong year, and he is expected to be capped, his first international cap, by the Danish national side this month as well. Bodø Glimt, as I say, have had a really strong season in Europe this year, and a lot of people will say, well, Leeds can't get a player from Glimt if they're playing in Europe. But their home stadium only holds 8,500 people, 8,270 to be exact. And they are in a situation themselves. They know that if the bigger clubs across Europe or money teams across Europe come knocking on their door for their top stars, they're not going to be in a position to try and keep them. They've got an opportunity to maybe cash in on some of those bigger stars at this moment in time to increase the financial clout of their own club. But from a Leeds perspective, you look at this one, his height, his style of play, his output, and his age tick a huge amount of boxes. And if you look at what Leeds are trying to bring in from Jurgen Strand-Larsen in January, there are some similarities with Kasper Hogh as well. Slightly different type of player, but there are similarities there. His contract at Bodo Glimt runs until 2029. The rumoured valuation of the player is anything between 10 to 15 million pounds. That will likely then change depending on what clubs are interested in him and how many clubs are interested in him coming into the summer. But he is an interesting one to keep an eye on. If you're looking for what Leeds are tending to look for in this striker position, he does line up quite well with that. But he will have interest. He's got a huge amount of goals this year. Not so much the league performance, because obviously the league he's playing in, a decent striker will be expected to score goals. But his European output and the goals against Manchester City as well are definitely something that you need to take into consideration. But a big Viking-looking player. I don't think anybody have a problem with that as well. A lot of our Nordic fans might be happy to see a Danish striker come to Leeds United. But he's an interesting one to keep an eye on. Go check him out online if you do. Obviously, the online clips are all going to be positive because, you know, they're highlight reels. But yeah, check him out. And if also, while you're checking him out, go and check out last night's podcast with myself and Benjamin Bloom having a chat about the Championship and where Leeds could be facing in the Premier League next season or facing into the Championship should the worst case scenario happen, if, touch wood, it doesn't. We've got a huge game this weekend against Brentford. We will have a watch along over on bigup.com. The predictions will be open there shortly as well if you want to get involved in the predictions game. And then we'll have the instant match reaction on Saturday night after the game on YouTube. And then the Sunday sessions for the members will be available on the channel on Sunday morning. Myself and Alex. Alex hosts that program every week when Leeds aren't playing on a Sunday. And then the audio will be available to everybody else for free. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend. I will talk to you on Monday for more news and tomorrow for the Leeds United match. Enjoy your weekend. See you later.